समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोक सुखिनो भवन्तु।
समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु।
शांति शांति शांति।
तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
नमामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्। ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यवमुतोर्दैशवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुदते नमः या तैषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूवते तनुः शिवा शरव्याया तव तया नो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नस्तनुभाषन्तमया गिरिशं ताभिजागशीः यामिषुं गिरिशन्तहस्ते विभक्ष्यस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहि पुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा वागिरिशाच्चावदामसि यदा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अद्य वोचदति भक्ता प्रथमो नैव्योऽभिषत् अहीतुश्च सर्वान् जम्बयन् सर्वाश्च यातु नान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अवितो दिक्षु श्रुताः सहस्रशो वैशाखुं हेडयीमहे असौ योपसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनं विश्वा भूतानि स दृष्टो मृडयादिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीडुषे अतो ये अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्चदन्वनस्त्वमुभयोराग्नियोज्या याश्च ते हस्तैषवः पराता भगवो वपा अवतत्यदनुस्त्वगुं सहस्रांशशतेषु ते निशीर्य शल्यानां शिवो नः सुमना भवा विज्यं दनुःखपर्दिनो विशल्यो मानवागुम्भुता अनेशन्नस्येषव आमुरस्य निशङ्गतिः या ते हेतिर्मीदुष्टमहस्ते बभूवते गनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधायानादकाय कृष्णवे उवाभ्यामुदते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अतो य इषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। 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 शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
गणेशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन पार्वती नंदन पाहि गजानन प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा प्रणव स्वरूपा पतिपुरीशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा पाहि गणेशा विघ्न विनाशा तुम हो विघ्न विनाशा गणेशा मन मंदिर में आओ साई मंदिर में आओ साई मन मंदिर में आओ साई मंदिर में आओ साई साई भगवान दर्श दिखाओ साई भगवान दर्श दिखाओ साई भगवान दर्श दिखाओ साई भगवान दर्श दिखाओ सदा निरंतर भज साई राम सदा निरंतर भज साई राम सदा निरंतर भज साई राम सदा बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो राम नाम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो राम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो राम नाम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक सौराष्ट्र महावीर बुद्ध नाम बोलो 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 गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो ये नाम सारे जीवन सहारे नाम सारे जीवन सहारे ये नाम सारे जीवन सहारे नाम सारे जीवन सहारे परमानंद के खोलते हैं द्वारे परमानंद के खोलते हैं द्वारे खोलते हैं द्वारे जो नाम चाहो वो नाम बोलो 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 प्रेम से बोलो भाव से 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 बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो राम नाम बोलो हरि नाम बोलो अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक अल्लाह साई यीशु नानक सौराष्ट्र महावीर बुद्ध नाम बोलो सौराष्ट्र महावीर बुद्ध नाम बोलो गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो ये नाम सारे जीवन सहारे नाम सारे जीवन सहारे परमानंद के खोलते हैं द्वारे खोलते हैं द्वारे जो नाम चाहो वो नाम बोलो जो नाम चाहो वो नाम बोलो प्रेम से बोलो भाव से बोलो प्रेम से बोलो भाव से बोलो प्रेम से बोलो भाव से बोलो प्रेम से बोलो बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम मनवा बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम हे मनवा बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम हे मनवा बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम 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 मनवा बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम मनवा बोलो जय सीताराम बोलो जय राधेश्याम 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 ओंकार रूपिणी जननी ओंकार रूपिणी जननी ओंकार रूपिणी जननी ओंकार रूपिणी जननी मंगलकारिणी जननी मंगलकारिणी जननी मंगलकारिणी जननी मंगलकारिणी जननी ओंकार रूपिणी जननी ओंकार रूपिणी जननी गान विनोदिनी जननी गान विनोदिनी जननी गान विनोदिनी जननी गान विनोदिनी जननी आनंददायिनी जननी आनंददायिनी जननी आनंददायिनी जननी आनंददायिनी जननी जननी
शिव शम्भो महादेवा शम्भो महादेवा महादेवा शिव शम्भो महादेवा सांब सदा शिव साई शंकर शम्भो महादेवा शम्भो महादेवा सांब सदा शिव साई शंकर शम्भो महादेवा हर 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 शम्भो भवभय हर हर शम्भो शिव शिव शम्भो सत्य साईश्वर शम्भो शिव 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 शम्भो सत्य साईश्वर शम्भो शिव 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 शम्भो सत्य साईश्वर शम्भो शिव 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 शम्भो सत्य साईश्वर शम्भो शम्भो महादेवा शिव शम्भो महादेवा महादेवा शिव शम्भो महादेवा सांब सदा शिव साई शंकर शम्भो महादेवा सांब सदा शिव साई शंकर शम्भो महादेवा हर 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 शम्भो भवभय हर हर शम्भो हर 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 शम्भो भवभय हर हर शम्भो शिव 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 शम्भो सत्य साईश्वर 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 शम्भो शम्भो महादेवा शिव शम्भो महादेवा हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वर हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर साईश्वर हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा 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 साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम साई परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा 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 हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम परम दयाला पाप विनाशा परम दयाला पाप विनाशा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा रक्ष करो साईश्वरा दया करो कृपा करो परमेश्वरा 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 हे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा साईश्वरा हरि हरि ओम शिव शंकर 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 नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम केशव हे जय माधव हे 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 नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम परमात्मा अंतर्यामी परमात्मा नारायण हरि ओम नारायण हरि ओम हरि हरि ओम शिव शंकर राम नाम बोलो साई राम बोलो साई श्याम घन श्याम जय बोलो बोलो साई राम बोलो साई श्याम घन श्याम जय बोलो राम नाम बोलो साई राम बोलो साई श्याम घन श्याम जय बोलो श्याम घन श्याम जय बोलो
नमामि ब्रह्मा नमामि विष्णु नमामि महेश्वरा
नमामि ब्रह्मा नमामि विष्णु नमामि महेश्वरा
नमामि ब्रह्मा नमामि विष्णु नमामि महेश्वरा
नमामि महेश्वरा
लोकपालिनी जगदीश्वरी सदानन्दरूपिणि साईश्वरी सदानन्दरूपिणि साईश्वरी लोकपालिनी जगदीश्वरी कारुण्यलावण्य कादम्बरी कारुण्यलावण्य कादम्बरी परमेश्वरी अम्ब शिवशङ्करी पुट्टपर्दीश्वरी अम्ब शिवशङ्करी त्रिलोकपालिनी जगदीश्वरी सदानन्दरूपिणि साईश्वरी त्रिलोकपालिनी जगदीश्वरी कारुण्यलावण्य कादम्बरी पर्तीश्वरी अम्ब शिवशङ्करी पुट्टपर्दीश्वरी अम्ब शिवशङ्करी त्रिलोकपालिनी जगदीश्वरी शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Offering my most loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Dear listeners, I welcome you to this week's episode of the Gita series, A Try on Pilgrimage. We are in the middle of the 6th chapter. The 6th chapter is about Atma Samyama Yoga, which means how to control oneself, one's body, one's mind, and also about Dhyana Yoga, or how to do meditation. And in fact, we are in that portion of the chapter where Krishna speaks about meditation. We'll begin with a short summary of what we covered last time, so that it gives us a context of what we have for this week. We covered two verses, verses 14 and 15. The verses before these two were about the physical disciplines which go hand in hand with meditation, and we saw how Krishna spoke about how do you sit, where do you sit, what is the posture that one has to sit in while meditating, and all of those were covered. In these two verses, 14 and 15, and a couple of verses that follow, inner discipline is mentioned, because at the end of the day, meditation is about what one does with one's mind. Krishna says that one must be peaceful, prashantatma. One should be fearless and follow the vow of brahmacharya. Those are the few instructions he gives in the 14th verse. And we discussed the importance of each of these instructions. How when Krishna says fearless, it could be an indication of how meditation should not be like a prayer. It is a sadhana and it has to be done as a discipline. It should be followed with niyama, as Swami would say. Similarly, when Krishna says one should follow the vow of brahmacharya, we discussed how brahmacharya is also an attitude where one does not burden the mind with other responsibilities, and one gives oneself to the thoughts of Brahman. Right? That is what is the fundamental definition of brahmacharya. In the next line of the same verse, that is the 14th verse, Krishna says that one must meditate on him, on Krishna, and with reaching him as the goal. Matchitto yukta asit matparaha, he says. The importance of this instruction is there is a relevance in meditating on the Supreme Lord. We can meditate by concentrating on an object or some random form or some random sound. By doing that, one can possibly attain ekagrata or one-pointedness. In fact, Swami says that almost every activity that we take up, from preparing for an exam, from cutting vegetables in the kitchen, to probably repairing a car or a piece of equipment, all of these call for ekagrata, and without our knowledge, when we are doing our everyday activity, in some form, we are moving towards this ekagrata. But that has only a limited relevance, and that is why he speaks about the importance of meditating on him and meditating as reaching him as the goal. The 15th verse is like a summary or an explanation of what happens when one meditates in this manner. Probably it's a summary of whatever has been said so far also. He says, one who is able to meditate like this, after controlling the mind, attains the peace of abiding in Krishna and eventually attains nirvana. And we concluded last week with a very beautiful episode where Swami in one sentence explains what is devotion, pretty much a summary of this entire section. He says, he had said this to a devotee who was trying to meditate, and very beautifully Swami says, close your eyes and contemplate that Swami is everywhere. Open your eyes and see or experience that Swami is everywhere. And this is what we are supposed to be trying to do in the process of meditation. When we speak of karma yoga, we have to consider all actions as offerings to God, right? That's the whole point of trying to do karma yoga. Which means I must be able to see Swami in, say, my students, if I'm a teacher, in my customers, if I'm a shopkeeper, in my children, if I'm a parent. And that has to be experienced at all times. Meditation is a process by which, in a controlled environment, that's why all of those physical attributes of sitting and meditating is given so much of importance in this portion. Whatever can be controlled, if you're able to find a quiet place, if you're able to find a place where you will not be disturbed, if you're able to find a place which is comfortable by, in the sense of the comforts also, so that your mind does not get distracted, then you will be able to, in this controlled environment, focus your mind on Swami and focus your mind on this idea that Swami is everywhere. And eventually, whatever you do through the day is a process by which you are able to live and experience this idea that you try to simulate as a contemplation when you're trying to meditate. And when that happens, when one is able to constantly remain in that thought that Swami is everywhere and whoever I interact with is Swami, whatever I do is actually an offering to Swami, that itself is nirvana. So those were the verses, couple of verses that we covered last time. We'll go to the 16th verse. We'll probably have time to cover 2 or 3 verses this time also. It's again a continuation of the Dhyana Yoga, what Krishna says, but what advice Krishna is going to give in the next couple of verses is slightly different from the past few verses that we have studied. We'll go to the 16th verse. We have it rendered beautifully by Brother Sham, one of our alumnus, one of our Radio Sai volunteers. We'll listen to it. I'll give you a very brief meaning after we listen to the shloka. Then we will, as always, discuss in depth.
नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन.
But, O Arjuna, yoga is not for one who eats too much, nor for one who does not eat at all, neither for one who habitually sleeps too long, not surely for one who keeps awake. That is verse number 16 of the 6th chapter. Till now Krishna spoke of how meditation must be done. And in the next few shlokas, Krishna speaks of what we must not do, right? And if you look at these instructions, unlike the instructions that we came across in the previous verses, these are instructions for a lifestyle. It's about how you lead your life. It is not merely about those few minutes that you spend when you're sitting down and meditating. And we will also see that in Swami's Gita Vahini, when Swami speaks about this particular portion, Swami also adds a few more instructions which have to be inculcated as a lifestyle. So the first point that Krishna is making here is Atyashnataha. For one who eats too much, tu verily yogaha na asti. There is no yoga, there is no meditation for one who is an Atyashnataha, one who eats too much. And then he goes on to say, Nacha ekantam anashnataha. And certainly not for who doesn't eat at all. So that is the first instruction. Don't eat too much. At the same time, don't starve yourself too. Atyashnataha and anashnataha. Ashna means to eat. So atyashnataha means one who eats a lot. Anashnataha means one who doesn't eat at all. Or we can say one who doesn't eat sufficiently. But both the instruction here is both of these people who are in either extreme cannot take up meditation. So in the commentary to this particular verse, Adi Shankara uses a shloka to explain how much one must eat, right? So you can tell a person, don't eat too much, don't eat too less, but how do you define what is a good quantity to eat? And this shloka that Adi Shankara uses to explain that is an instruction that we've heard from Swami also in his discourses. He says, 2/4 of the stomach are to be filled with food, which means 1/2 of the stomach is to be filled with food. The 3rd quarter is to be filled with water, but the 4th quarter is to be left for the movement of air. Right? So this is the instruction. I'm sure most of you would have heard it from Swami's discourses too. Again, the whole idea of this instruction is to correct a misconception that we all tend to have, that treating the body badly is a sign of spirituality. And this is something that Swami always disapproved of, and the idea of starving ourselves in the name of spirituality or devotion was never given the approval by Swami. In fact, there is a beautiful episode that I often like to narrate in this regard. I must have mentioned this as part of my other programs. There was this youngster who was very, very keen on becoming a student of Swami. He came from way up somewhere in the northeast. So he had come all the way and he had applied in Swami's college. At that time, it was the Brindavan College. He wanted to get admission into the PUC course. Sometimes when you're not able to do it yourself, suppose you have come late, the seats are already filled, or you don't clear the exam. Some of the students would try to plead with Swami, and Swami would sometimes personally, interfere and tell the principal that, you can take such and such a student, he's coming from a different background like this, or he needs this seat very badly. So when this student tried for this PUC course and he could not get it on his own, he thought that he will come and he'll somehow plead with Swami so that he can be blessed with the opportunity to study in Swami's college. So this boy decided to come to Prasanthi Nilayam. Swami was in Prasanthi Nilayam then. I'm not too sure. I think the setup for the rest of the episode was Prasanthi Nilayam. So he decided to wait till Swami would come down and take compassion on him and give him a seat. And this waiting period lasted for a few months. And somehow Swami did not speak to him. Swami did not give him attention. So slowly he started skipping his meals. And it so happened that he says that for months together or for days together he would not eat anything, and if at all he happened to eat something, it would be only buttermilk rice. And one can imagine a boy of that age, if deprived of the nutrients that is required for the body, we all know what would happen to the body. The body started shrinking, the muscles started getting wasted, and eventually, I think after a few months, when finally Swami called him, he was actually a bag of bones. And he had become so famished that the day when Swami comes and calls him for an interview, he gets up and he collapses. That's how weak he had become in this process of what he thought was a great sadhana that he was doing. So Swami calls him for this interview, and some devotees help him to walk up to the interview room, and he goes inside the interview room. And when he enters, the first thing that Swami tells him is, don't ever think that I called you for this interview because you have starved your body. Swami said, I've called you only out of my karuna, only out of my compassion. I do not approve of this treatment to the body. Then of course Swami spoke to him for a while, and Swami asked him what was the thing, and eventually Swami said, you have to learn this lesson. This is not how Swami wants people to take to the spiritual path. So if I give you a seat now, you will not learn the lesson. So Swami tells him, I will not give you a seat in my college. You go back home and come back next year. Let this be the punishment for what you have done. Right? So very clearly, ill-treating the body is not the right option for a sadhaka. And you ill-treat your body even by overindulging. Even when you eat too much, you are ill-treating the body. And I think we must also acknowledge that each of us have a body that is quite different. The needs of our body are quite different. There is no standard quantity in that sense. That's why Krishna doesn't really define it. He doesn't say that you have to eat this much. He only says don't eat too much, don't eat too less. So how much to eat? Don't eat so much that you become tamasic or you become lethargic. Don't eat too little that your body has no strength to carry out its activities. And probably the best way to ensure this is when we have the right attitude towards food. Right? Food is important, but food is important because it sustains this body. And this body is important because it is an instrument for us to perform the more important tasks. Many times Swami would tell us, very, very jocularly, when we come back from Grama Seva, or when it is a time when we have spent a lot of time in the Mandir, Swami has come a little late. Swami would come to the students' block and said, Pondi, velli tank lo, petrol veskondi, Swami would say. Go and fill your tank with petrol. That's a standard instruction that we would get from Swami, which means go and have your food. I think that is a very beautiful instruction which shows that what is the kind of an attitude we must have towards this body with regards to food. Food is fuel for this body. And just as how I fuel my car, I would definitely want to pick up fuel that does not spoil my car, but there's nothing exotic when it comes to fuel, right? I will be careful in what kind of fuel that I put, but at the same time, there is no fancy thing, because fuel at the end of the day is something that fuels the car, and that's all it is important for. The same way, food also should be looked at in that manner. Of course, the nature of quality of food, right? Here we are speaking about the quantity of food. Quality of food, I think even in the Bhagavad Gita it comes later. We'll come to that eventually. So the first moderation that Krishna refers to is the moderation in the quantity of food. And this, as I said, is a lifestyle advice. This is not about eating and not eating just before you go to meditate. This is about how you generally lead your life. And very clearly he says, if you eat too much or if you eat too little, meditation is not going to work for you. The next thing that Krishna speaks about is sleep. He says, Nacha ati swapna shilasya. And yoga is not possible for a ati swapna shila, one who sleeps a lot. Jagrato na evacha Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, not even for one who keeps awake too much. Again, the emphasis here is on balance. All instruction that Krishna has given so far is about maintaining balance in one's life. Even when he was talking about how you place your seat, what kind of a place that you choose in, it was all about balance, right? And I think that is the most important word that defines all of these shlokas. Swami would often give us this instruction with regards to waking up or sleep. Some of us had this habit of waking up at 3 or 3:30, either that somebody is very devoted and wants to try out meditation at that unearthly hour, or some of us would, eventually it must be an exam time. We wake up very early and study. We have a lot of portion to cover. So we do this, we tend to do this. We wake up very early, and also it's because we have this idea, Swami has only told us, that Brahma Muhurtam starts at 3 o'clock. So a lot of people try to wake up at 3 o'clock and start doing their sadhana. And many times when his interaction with students, Swami has told that even though the Brahma Muhurtam starts at 3 o'clock, you don't have to wake up so early. And Swami would say because the body also needs the rest. There's no point in waking up because it's Brahma Muhurtam and being half asleep and half awake. So you don't have to wake up so early. So give the body the rest that it requires. Again, the idea is not to comfort the body, right? The idea is to keep the body in balance so that what needs to be done with the body can be done, right? So the comfort that is being, even when we speak about meditation, it is not sukha in that sense. Swami used the word sukha dhyana. It is not sukha in the sense of comfort, but sukha in the sense of no hindrance to meditation being performed. Once someone was telling about these various sporting events that happen around the world. Most of the sports, as we know, there are different tournaments, and those tournaments happen in different countries, and those countries happen to be in different continents. And when we say different continents, we mean different time zones. For example, one of the most well-paid sporting event, which is the Formula One racing. We refer to those tournaments as the Grand Prix, right? Most of you who were interested in that game would know it's a very, very high-paying job. At the same time, it's a very high-stress sport also. So they say that in a typical Grand Prix event, in a typical race, the whole thing is about at what time and what when the car is turning. There are different. The circuit has different kind of shapes, and we all know that. So there are different stages in that race. At the right time you have to shift your gear, the right time you have to brake, and there's a certain amount you have to brake. And all of this requires extreme alertness of the mind. You should exactly know if you're approaching a curve. They run through these patterns many times. So when they're reaching that particular curve, they know how much they'll have to go, which gear they have to be in, what should be the speed they have to be in. And if that speed is not there, how much they should brake. So it calls for extreme alertness of the mind. And when you say that these races happen in different countries, there's a Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi, there's a Grand Prix in Singapore, there's a Grand Prix in the UK, there's a Grand Prix in Australia. when you have to have your mind in that peak alertness, your body should be in tune with that particular time zone. So that's why many of these racers, what they would do is they would go weeks or sometimes even months in advance and stay in that place so that by the time the race comes, the mind would have got acclimatized to that time zone, and then you can expect the mind to be in that kind of alertness. Now, if you look at it, this is actually, after all, a sporting event, and this is true for many other sporting events, like tennis, for instance. The Grand Slams happen in different continents. One is in Australia, one is in UK, one is in France. Imagine this is for sports, right? Sports has a more dependence on the physical acumen, the physical abilities, and definitely a certain amount of dependence on the alertness of the mind and the talent in the mind also. So much importance is given for sleep and food when it comes to a sporting event because the mind's alertness is so important. Now imagine we're talking about meditation, and meditation is all about the mind. Then one can imagine how much more importance meditation requires in terms of food and sleep when you're talking about the alertness of the mind. And that is why what Krishna says here is it's not a simple instruction when he talks about moderation of food and moderation of sleep. These are all very, very important things. The mind is housed in the body, and as long as the body is not maintained in that optimum balance, the mind will be disturbed, right? That's why they say when you have a ailment in the body, it is called disease, which means dis-ease. And when the body is in dis-ease, the mind also cannot be at ease, right? Eventually, if we are able to reach a state where the mind is completely beyond the body, I think that's where we all are endeavoring to reach. That's a different point. That's a different apparatus itself that we're talking about. The human body and the mind change completely. It's a different set of instructions for that. But here when we're talking about meditation, we're talking about it from what we are at present. So for that, as a lifestyle, one needs to maintain moderation in food and sleep. As I said, Swami gives a few more instructions, which we'll come to. Probably we'll do that after we go through the next shloka. And in the next shloka, Krishna reiterates what has been said here. He is going to just rephrase it and say it again. We'll listen to that and then we'll proceed.
Yuktahara viharasya yuktacheshtasya karmasu yuktasvapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha.
Yoga becomes a destroyer of sorrow of one whose eating and movements are regulated, whose effort in works is moderate, and whose sleep and wakefulness are temperate. So that's the 17th verse. This one shloka can be taken as the definition of how a sadhaka must lead one's life. Forget about the sadhana with regards to the mind, what the mind has to focus on, and things like that. In fact, there is a reference to that. I'll come to that shortly. But as a physical lifestyle, how should one live? I think the shloka defines what is expected of a sadhaka when we talk of his or her lifestyle. Today also happens to be Buddha Purnima, and I think it's a very beautiful coincidence that we are talking about this particular shloka and this particular concept, because this is what was central to Gautama Buddha's message. We all know the story of how Buddha leaves his palace. The whole idea is that he is searching for a solution for pain and suffering and death, because for the first time he confronts these realities of life, and he, there's a craving in his heart. How does one deal with these? How to put an end to suffering, right? That is how his journey in spirituality begins. And in the process, he joins some monks, and these monks are very austere ascetics. They're given to practicing very, very extreme austerities. And when we say extreme austerities, they would not give their body any kind of comfort. They would sleep on the hard floor. And especially when it comes to eating, they would not eat anything that is cooked. In fact, they would not even eat vegetables and leaves or roots which are fresh. They would eat dried leaves, and extreme cases they would eat bird droppings. Right? The idea is not to give any kind of pleasure to the body. So Gautama the prince, who is in search of the truth, finally joins this band of ascetics. And he's a very, very sincere person, right? He's a very sincere sadhaka that he literally masters this art of living such an austere life. So very quickly he kind of becomes a guru to a group of such ascetics, and they all look up to him, and for them he's the master who's perfected this art of not giving any kind of comfort to the body. And in all his journeys, he finally reaches the bank of a river. The story goes that on the other side of the river is Bodh Gaya, what eventually comes to be referred to as Bodh Gaya, the town where that famous Bodhi tree is there, under which he eventually gets his enlightenment. But he's on the other side of the river, and he's waiting to go across. But by that point in time, he's so famished that he's literally a bag of bones. That when he is trying to cross this river, he's not able to, and he almost drowns in this effort to cross the river. He somehow manages to come back to the bank from where he was trying to cross, and he's lying there almost half dead. And it is said that at that time, one of the village milkmaids comes that way. Her name is Sujata. And she comes, she looks at this ascetic. One look at him, she realizes that he is very, very famished and he needs food. So she gives him a little bit of boiled rice mixed with milk. And here is Gautama, the prince, who is not, he's not been trained to live a life like this, but he has, of course, began to live because of his sadhana. And after many, many months, somebody is giving him food that is meant to be eaten by a human body. This milk and boiled rice. And the moment he eats that food, like a flash of understanding, it comes that what he has been doing all this while is wrong. Because he's been ill-treating the body, and that does not take you anywhere. So he comes to this idea that what is important is to follow the path of moderation, follow the middle path. But then he tries to tell this to his disciples, the disciples who see that their master has kind of betrayed them, because they've all followed him in this path of austerity. And here is this great Gautama who is now eating food and who is giving his body the pleasure of such food. Right? And so they all disown him and they all walk away. He's trying to explain to them, see, this is not a sign of my weakness, but this is the sign of my understanding. I've come to this enlightenment that the body should not be put through suffering. But then he loses all of them. They all don't give value to his words. The story goes that eventually he crosses that river after he gains enough strength. He reaches that city of Bodh Gaya. He sits under that tree, and then he attains enlightenment. And today is supposed to be the day he attained enlightenment. It's also the day on which he was born. It is also the day on which he eventually gives up his mortal coil. So it's so beautiful that today we are talking about this shloka, because this is what was the central message of Buddha. He said, don't indulge the body. Spirituality is always about balance. It is not about extremes. Don't pamper the body. At the same time, you are not going to attain the bliss of the soul by ill-treating the body, by putting the body through pain. And in this shloka, Krishna reiterates that concept. But having said that, even the balance must have the right intention or the goal in mind. Say I'm a military man, or I'm a person who's extremely obsessed with my fitness. I think even then it is likely that I might have a very balanced life. I might have a balanced diet, I might have a balanced routine, I might have a fixed time I sleep in, because we come across a lot of these people who are very disciplined in their life, right? But the balance that we are speaking of here is that of a lifestyle of a sadhaka, right? That is something that we must not forget. Maybe that's why Krishna uses the word yukta repeatedly in this particular shloka. He says, yukta ahara viharasya, of one who is moderate in eating and habits, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, of one who is moderate in efforts and in his duties, yukta swapna avabodhasya, of one who is moderate in sleep and wakefulness. So we can see Krishna repeatedly uses the word yukta. Earlier in the Gita also we have seen Krishna using this word. In fact, in the next few verses also he is going to use the word. The word is used to describe a sadhaka. Sadhaka is referred to as a yukta, which is actually a short form for yoga yukta, one who is focused on attaining the goal. The word yukta in Sanskrit also means proper or appropriate. So we can see that Krishna purposely uses that word to suggest that the proper regulation of life must be with the spiritual goal in mind. In such a person, whom he had described as yukta ahara viharasya, so on and so forth, he says in such a person, yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Yoga or meditation becomes, because that is, when he says yogo bhavati dukkhaha, yoga could refer to dhyana yoga, because the whole portion is about that. He says yoga becomes the destroyer of dukkha or sorrow. So Krishna is saying if one leads a regulated, balanced life, then meditation can give this benefit of destroying one's sorrow, which is the ultimate state, right? Before we discuss a little more about this balance, let me read out the passage from Swami's Gita Vahini that I promised I will read out. This is from chapter 11, where Swami speaks of these moderate or moderation in behavior and also adds a few more points. I think it's important for us to have these also in mind. Swami writes, and I quote, "For those who eat too much and get exhausted with the task of assimilating it, for those who eat less and suffer from exhaustion, for those who sleep too much or too little, for those who indulge in meditation according to convenience, that is to say, those who do it for long hours one day because they have no other work, and do just token meditation the next day because they have lots of work. For those who give free rein to the 6 inner enemies, for those who do not confer joy on parents, and especially the mother, than all these, for those who entertain doubt and have little faith in the Lord or in the Guru whom they have chosen and installed in their hearts. For all these, meditation will yield no fruit at all." End of quote. As we can see, Swami speaks of a few other critical points. Most importantly, I thought, respect to parents and regularity in meditation. Right? Swami is saying that if you do not have love and respect for parents, especially the mother, then there's no point meditating at all. You're not going to draw any benefit out of that. That's a very important point that Swami makes, and we have to keep in mind. The other point is regularity in meditation. Probably it is not wrong to meditate more if on some day that you happen to have more time. But the idea is, meditation is not like any other activity that we perform that can evenly spread over the days depending on our other schedules. Let's say one day I'm not able to do the dishes in the kitchen. 2 days later I end up spending more time doing the dishes, right? Or when we were in school, they used to give us this holiday homework. The idea was every day during the summer holidays or winter holidays, you would spend about 1 hour doing the work. So at the end of the summer vacation, you would have finished it. What would we do? Without fail, we would not touch the holiday homework till the last 3 or 4 days. And last 3 or 4 days would be completely, there are no holidays those 3-4 days. We will only be sitting and doing the homework. Meditation is not to be looked at in that manner. It is to be looked at as a discipline. It It has to go hand in hand with the idea of the schedule of the day. Every day, that whatever is the assigned time, it has to be given for that meditation. Then Swami speaks about having faith. Every other day we cannot have doubt about the validity of our meditation. Or let's say that you've been gifted with a mantra by your guru. Every other day you cannot think that, is it okay if I chant this mantra, or should I take up some other mantra? Probably I should chant Gayatri mantra, or I've been chanting this mantra for so long, nothing seems to be happening. Again, that is also an attitude, which is like a lifestyle attitude, and clearly Swami says that you will not get any benefit out of meditation with that attitude. Then going back to the point that Swami makes about eating too much. Swami says eating too much leaves one exhausted with the effort of assimilating it. I think that's a very beautiful way of putting it. Eating gives energy, but digestion also consumes energy. Right? To eat, the purpose of eating is so that the body gets energy, but this process of digestion is also an energy consuming activity. So we eat so that we have enough energy to do those activities that the body is given for, the body is meant for. But when we cross this balance, this line of balance, much of the energy will be used in digesting the food that has been eaten, and what that results in is in a lethargic attitude. And this can be said even about every other activity or aspect that Krishna mentions in the shloka. We can say that about sleep. Sleep is meant to keep the mind alert, right? Like I gave the example of the sportsman. It is supposed to keep the mind in its best alertness. But oversleeping doesn't serve that purpose at all, because oversleeping makes you tamasic, and again, it makes your mind dull. It does not keep it active. Krishna says there must be a balance even in efforts and duties. Yukta cheshtasya karmasu. Doing one's duty, caring for one's family, doing one's professional work, all these also have to be in balance. And when will that happen? When will that balance actually come in our life? When I acknowledge the true purpose of this life, isn't it? As Krishna has been saying over and over again, the karma that one has to perform, and that karma is defined by the relationships in the family. What are you in the family? Are you a mother? Are you a father? Are you a son? Similarly, what is the role that you play in your professional setup? Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Do you have a boss? Are you an accountant? All of these define the karma that one performs, and one performs that karma so that the mind is purified in the process, and the mind is purified so that it is prepared to receive jnana. That's the whole idea of karma yoga. Let us say I am a mother. Being a mother is not the purpose of this life. I would be wrong to think that the entire reason why I have been given this life is so that I can care for my children. Or say I'm a musician or I'm a sportsman. I cannot be so completely consumed by that one role in my life. A yukta, sadhaka realizes that every other aspect of life merely only defines karma for me and gives direction. That's all. That role cannot define me. I think that is the important thing that needs to be kept in mind. I think most of us are mature enough to know that we don't live to eat, right? We all eat to live, and we live for a certain purpose. But sometimes we are not clear of this idea that we are on this long journey, and this limited role doesn't define everything for us. When we talk about certain important roles that we play, like motherhood, parenthood, or a very important, any passion that kind of consumes us. I have a talent and I'm pursuing it day and night. But as I was saying, even someone who is very particular about, say, fitness, will have a very balanced diet and will not get into bad habits, but they don't become a yukta ahara vihara, because they might be obsessed with exercise and spend way too much time taking care of the body. When the mind is preoccupied by such things, how can it focus on higher goals? Similarly, if one is so obsessed with one's profession, one is so obsessed with one's ambitions, say I'm a businessman and I want to make a lot of money. Making a lot of money is not wrong. Wanting to make money can never become a wrong thing as long as you're doing it through the moral way, right? Artha and kama is not wrong as long as it is always attached to dharma or moral ways. So the money I earn is not bad, but I work so hard in trying to achieve this ambition that the mind is completely consumed by this attitude of mind, and I cannot be a yoga yukta, even though I am leading a dharmic life. So this balance that Krishna is speaking of comes from a certain clarity of vision, the correct prioritizations that come with this clarity of vision. Swami would often say this, the body is a treasure chest which contains this most precious treasure of the Atman. So the body also has to be cared for, but it has to be cared for because of this purpose that it contains this precious treasure. And the body should not be deprived in such a manner that the mind is not able to focus on the goal. So whatever activity is taken up, whatever discipline is adhered to, whatever caring for the body is done, eating, sleeping, grooming, exercising, all of this is done with a focus on the goal. Even as I am saying this, this may probably appear a little selfish, right? Especially when I am telling this with reference to parents. Suppose I tell you, you have to take care of your take care of your children only with your goal in mind, only because taking care of your children is going to give you moksha. That kind of takes away the love from the relationship. That kind of takes away the selflessness which is inherent in the way a mother takes care of the child, right? That is why this is actually a little more subtler than just the vision. The idea of looking at a larger goal is so that balance is maintained in the family, right? It's a little different than that. When one is leading a balanced life, you will eventually end up doing everything perfectly. You will be a perfect mother. You will be a perfect worker in your professional life. Probably we'll come to that after we listen to the next shloka, because this is a very important point. This is, when I'm explaining it in a linear manner, when I say, because especially that statement that Krishna makes is something that can cause a little bit of confusion when he says, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu. There should be a balance in your efforts, and there should be a balance in the way you discharge your duty. Because sometimes we think that there is no limit to duty, right? There is no limit to a mother's love. Mother is caring for the child, mother gives herself. Similarly, when we're given a role, if I'm a doctor in the present circumstances, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the boundary? You're supposed to give yourself to that duty, right? You consider yourself as a doctor, you consider yourself as a nurse or a medical professional, and you're giving yourself to the task at hand. Where is the question of holding back, thinking that if I do too much, I'm not going to get moksha, right? So that is not the idea. The only sense that we're supposed to take from this is there is a balance to everything. Everything that has been put in our life is put for a certain purpose, and by doing too little of that, you can hurt that purpose. By doing too much of that, you can hurt that purpose. It's easier to understand that when it comes to eating and sleeping. It becomes a little more complicated to understand that when we're talking about duties, when we're talking about ambitions and going after certain targets that we keep for ourselves. I'm not too sure if it is going to be completely cleared when we discuss the next verse, but we'll see how it works. But be sure that eventually as we go through these verses, the clarity will come. We'll listen to the next verse, which is verse number 18. I'll give you a brief meaning of that, and then we'll discuss that and we'll conclude with that.
Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatisthate nispruhas sarvakamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada.
When the perfectly controlled mind rests in the self alone, free from longing for all the objects of desires, then it is said, he is united. That's the 18th verse of the 6th chapter. One thing we must remember when we speak of sadhana, or the ultimate goal of sadhana in fact, is we are not becoming something. We are not reaching some land or some heaven or something. We are not even transforming into something. Though sometimes for the ease of explanation we use these words, reaching the ultimate, or one transforms. Actually, none of these words do justice to what happens. Because what we are trying to do in this path of spirituality is, we are trying to see the truth. And when I say we are trying to see the truth is right in front of us. Right? I am divine is the truth. God pervades this entire creation is the truth. So the goal of sadhana is not to become something, but the ability to see things as they are. See myself as I truly am. See people around as they truly are. Right? And what is it that blocks us from seeing this truth? What is it that hampers this vision of truth? It is the mind. The mind is the representation of Maya within, right? The mind is what makes see duality where there is one. So this whole process of sadhana is to sublimate the mind. And when we talk of meditation, meditation is nothing but it's a means by which we contemplate on this truth which is not visible to us as of now. That's why we kept using that definition or that phrase. It is paroksha jnana. It is paroksha, which means I am not in a state where I am able to see that truth myself, but someone else has had the vision of the truth. And I am contemplating on someone else's vision. Paroksha means somebody else's vision of the truth. So when we talk of meditation, it is me contemplating on this truth which I have myself not seen so far. So when we are able to lead a moderate life, a disciplined life, slowly the mind becomes still and it begins to be focused on that truth. And eventually the truth can be seen. So I am contemplating on the truth that I am not able to see. But in the process of this contemplation, in the process of this one-pointed focus on this contemplation, what happens is the mind begins to wither away. And when the mind withers away, you actually see the truth. Right? That is the whole process of meditation as we are discussing. So when we talk of meditation, it's a means by which we contemplate on the truth and eventually the mind withers away and the truth can be seen. So if one feels, am I not being selfish when I say that I am more bothered about me reaching the goal, not about my responsibilities? I think the answer is, the more clear the vision becomes, the more good and the more effective one will become at whatever is the task at hand, right? I'm solving somebody's problem. Let us say I'm a teacher or I'm a mother or a father and a child comes to me with a problem. The more clear I'm able to see, the better useful I will be to that particular situation, isn't it? If I am myself confused, if the child comes and asks me a question, there is no way I am going to be able to help that situation that child is in. So the more clear the vision becomes, the more perfect we will be at whatever task is being performed. And as long as there are other goals in mind, this goal that we are talking about of being able to be focused on the truth will become more distant. And that's why Krishna says here, he says, Yada viniyatam chittam. Viniyatam means restrained or controlled. So yada viniyatam chittam. When the mind is perfectly controlled, Atmani yeva avatishtate, and rests focused on the self alone. And when will the mind be able to remain focused in this manner on the self? Nispruhaha, when it is free from longing for sarvakamebhyaha, from all objects of desires. Yukta ityuchyate tada. Then he is said to be a yukta, or a person who is united with the object of meditation. So this is in fact the culmination of dhyana. The mind is ever focused on the Atma. There are no other desires to deter it. In the process of meditation, what we are trying to do is we are trying to stimulate the state, at least for those few minutes when we sit down and meditate. And to augment this state, those few minutes in a day when we are sitting and meditating, to have the best experience or to have the best effect of those few minutes, Krishna says you follow a lifestyle of balance. Right? So this focus of a few minutes helps us lead a life of balance too. Right? The more I am able to contemplate on God, contemplate on who I am, contemplate on all these truths that Swami says, we will find that it becomes easier to lead a lifestyle of balance. Right? That's what I had said, that how will you eat properly, how will you sleep properly, how will you do the appropriate duties when your vision is clear. So to have that clear vision is the reason why we are doing this meditation. And this meditation is more effective when there is a balance in life. So as you can see here, this few minutes that we spend in meditation helps us lead a balanced life, and that balanced life helps us do better in this meditation. So in that way, both of these are important, and eventually one becomes a yukta for whom the concept of meditation itself vanishes, because this experience that I am trying to simulate in these few minutes I'm sitting and meditating eventually becomes the experience of my entire waking state. Right? So when it becomes the experience of the entire day, where is the question of labeling this as meditation? Let us say there is no concept of sleeping for me, then why will I define something as wakefulness? Of course, there is nothing as sleep, but there is no reason to define something as wakefulness. Because there is sleeping, something becomes wakefulness. Similarly, because something is not a state of dhyana, it becomes necessary to define dhyana. So if I'm ever in the state of being a yukta, ever mind being in that focus on the Atma, the concept of dhyana vanishes. And as I'm always focused on the dhyaya, Atmani eva avatishtate, the mind is always focused, is always placed on that Atma. Meditation as a concept, as I just explained, vanishes. When my mind is always in dhyana, there is no dhyana. And this state is a state where the mind is completely stilled and eventually sublimated. Then there is no dhyata, the meditator, and there is no dhyaya, the object of meditation. Right? So it is very difficult to explain when Krishna says that you should not overdo your duty. How do you not overdo your duty? But how do you know how much you've done is enough, right? And that is why it is very important to again go back to these truths. When we say that I am playing the role of a parent, I am playing the role of a sibling, it is very important to understand the larger picture, that I am a trustee. This person is not belonging to me. This is a truth that I am not able to feel right now, but I am trying to contemplate on that truth, right? So I don't belong to this person, does not really belong to me. I am not attached to this person, but this person is entrusted in me. So I am supposed to help this person as much as I can, but I am not supposed to be attached to that person. So the definition of the role helps in better dispensing of the duty also, right? And that is done better when there's clarity of mind, and for that clarity of mind you do dhyana. So you find that there is a beautiful way in which there is a symbiotic relationship between those few minutes that you spend in dhyana or meditation and this lifestyle. That's why Swami would often say this, ahara vihara is very, very important. The way you eat food The quantity of food that you eat, the quality of food that you eat, and the way you lead your life is so very important in the spiritual sense. So there is no point if I say 1 week, 1 hour a week I go for bhajans, or once in a while or once a day I'm sitting and doing my meditation. After I finish my bath, I come and chant my mantras, I do my meditation. And then the rest of the day is filled with indiscipline. It will not help at all. That's why many of us ask this question, I've been doing this for so many years. It doesn't seem to be helping me. The reason is, what is required is a complete dedication to that particular thing. That's why, any ambition that is pursued properly, be it that of a sportsman, be it that of a singer, you kind of align your entire life to to do well in that particular ambition that you've set for yourself. And that is why the whole idea is you must become a sadhaka. You must understand that this life that we are leading is so that the goal is reached, so that one day, as Swami says, we are all born to understand that we should not be born again. And then everything else falls in place. The roles, then disciplines, the duties that I have to dispense are because it in a way defines my karmas. I perform my karma so that the mind gets purified. And for the mind to get purified, the karma has to be performed in a certain manner with a certain discipline. And the whole portion that we are going through in the Gita is where meditation as a process, meditation as a tool is useful in this whole thing, right? So those are the 3 verses that I thought we can cover this time. I most humbly offer this effort at Swami's lotus feet. We'll continue. There are a few more verses where Krishna speaks about meditation. The Dhyana Yoga part is not yet over. We'll continue with that next week. Do join me again, dear listeners, for the resumption of the Gita series, The Triune Pilgrimage, next week at 7:30 p.m. Till I meet you all next week, take care, stay safe. Jai Sai Ram.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्ति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशि भगना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातापिता गुरुदैवं पर्यन्तयुरीश्वरम् जय सद्गुरुदेवा। शांति शांति शांति। समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु। समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु। शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ